Welcome to Lecture 6 of UX203. In the last lecture we built the structural scaffold of an interface, hierarchy, grids, and spatial organization. Now we fill that scaffold with its two most powerful visual signals, type and color. Typography and color are the medium of web design. Every word a user reads, every status they understand, every action they feel confident taking, is mediated by these two systems. Yet both are routinely handled ad hoc, without system or principle. This lecture fixes that. We are in Lecture 6. Hierarchy gave us structure. Typography and color give us voice. Lectures 7 and 8 extend into interaction behavior and accessibility, but the visual language established here runs through everything that follows. Typography is not a stylistic choice. It is a functional decision that affects comprehension speed, credibility perception, and user trust. 95% of web design is typography. This figure from information designer Oliver Reichenstein is not rhetorical. It is a literal measure of the proportion of visual weight on the average web page that is carried by text. The layout, the hierarchy, the CTA, the error message, the navigation all type. Optimized typography, appropriate line length, generous line height, correct font size, improves reading speed by up to 20%. The words are the same. The delivery changes how fast and how accurately they are understood. 67% of users say they judge the credibility of a website based on its typography before they read the content. Poor typographic quality, inconsistent sizes, wrong fonts, cramped spacing signals carelessness. Users do not consciously articulate this, but they act on it. They leave. A type scale is a structured set of text sizes, a small number of carefully chosen values that cover every text role in the interface. Without a scale, every designer and engineer makes independent size decisions, and the result is visual inconsistency that users feel as noise. Display or hero type, 56 to 72 pixels, is for one-line statements. Landing page headlines, empty state headers, splash screen titles. Use sparingly, its rarity is what gives it power. Page headings range from 36 pixels for H1 down through 28 and 24 for H2 and H3. These establish the document structure and the reading path. Body text sits at 16 to 18 pixels, the size at which extended reading is comfortable on screen. UI text, labels, captions, helper copy, sits at 14 pixels. Below 12 pixels, type becomes inaccessible. A modular ratio creates the scale mathematically. Pick a base size 16 pixels and a ratio 1.25 or 1.333, and multiply up 16, 20, 25, 32, 40, 50. Every step on the scale is harmonically related to every other. The result is a set of sizes that feel proportionally right without requiring aesthetic judgment. Notion's interface is an instructive case study because it is almost entirely typography, an editing surface where every element from the sidebar navigation to the document body to the inline comments is a text element. Despite this density, Notion achieves remarkable clarity because its type scale is strictly maintained. Every text role has exactly one size and weight. The hierarchy is unambiguous because the system is unambiguous. The visual effect of a well-maintained type scale is that the page feels organized even at high content density. Users can navigate by scanning type size without reading content. The heading structure alone tells them where they are in the document. A practical workflow for establishing a type scale from scratch. Set 16 pixels as the body base. This is the size at which most adults read comfortably on a standard display. If your audience is older or your interface is information dense, consider 18 pixels. Choose a ratio. The major third, 1.25, is gentle good for dense, data-heavy interfaces. The perfect fourth, 1.333, is more dramatic, good for marketing pages and editorial design. Apply the ratio. 16 times 1.25 is equal to 20, times 1.25 is equal to 25, times 1.25 is equal to 32. Round to whole pixels. Give each step a semantic name: XS, SM, base, MD, LG, XL, 2XL, 3XL. In code, these become CSS variables or design tokens. Font size LG 20px. The name abstracts the number, so that changing the scale later requires one update, not a search and replace across the codebase. Every type role, body, label, heading, caption, display must be documented with its size, weight, line height, and intended use case. If it is not documented, it will drift. Color and interface design is not a branding exercise. It is a functional communication system. Every color decision should be justified by the meaning it communicates. The primary color identifies your brand and marks interactive elements, links, buttons, focus rings. It should appear sparingly. Overuse neutralizes its signaling power. If everything is primary colored, nothing signals priority. Neutral colors, grays, off-whites, carry the majority of visual weight in most interfaces. They are the background against which primary color signals stand out. A well-chosen neutral palette is the foundation of a professional-looking interface. Semantic colors are assigned meaning regardless of brand. Green for success, red for error, amber for warning, blue for information. These meanings are so culturally ingrained that violating them creates genuine usability problems. Red success states and green error states will confuse users even if the copy is correct. Surface and context colors manage the layered depth of an interface. Card backgrounds, sidebar backgrounds, modal overlays, elevated surfaces. They communicate spatial depth without using shadows. Linear's design system is one of the clearest examples of semantic color applied at product scale. Their color system is documented as a set of name tokens, not hex codes, and each token maps to a functional role. Text primary, text secondary, BG surface, border subtle, error, warning, success. Engineers consume the tokens, not the hex values. When the theme changes, the tokens change and the interface updates everywhere. The practical result: Linear supports both light and dark mode with zero manual override. The color system handles the mode switch because the tokens are defined semantically. BG surface in light mode is #FFFFFF. In dark mode it is #1C1C1E. The token name stays the same. A semantic color system requires discipline at the naming layer. Define background and surface separately. Background is the page canvas. Surface is the layer above it, cards, panels, dialogues. A third layer, elevated, covers tooltips, menus, and modals. 3 levels of depth create a spatial language without requiring shadows. Define text tokens by importance. Text primary for body and headings, text secondary for captions and helper text, text disabled for inactive labels. Never use a raw hex code for text in production. Always use the semantic token. The interactive color token, usually the brand primary, applies to links, button fills, focus rings, and checkboxes. One token, consistently applied, is what makes interactive elements recognizable across a complex interface. Define all 4 status colors: error, warning, success, info, with both a background and a foreground variant. The background fills a status banner or badge. The foreground colors the icon and text inside it. Both must pass W/G contrast requirements. Color contrast is not an aesthetic preference. It is a legal accessibility requirement in most jurisdictions, and the most commonly failed accessibility criterion on the web. WAG-AA standard requires a minimum contrast ratio of 4.5:1 for body text. This means the luminance difference between text and background must be at least 4.5 times. A light gray label on a white background, a common design choice, often fails this requirement. Large text, defined as 18 points or 14 points bold, requires a minimum of 3:1. This lower threshold reflects the fact that larger text is more readable at lower contrast. WAG AAA requires 7:1, the enhanced accessibility standard for situations where the highest possible readability is required, such as healthcare interfaces or legal document platforms. AAA is aspirational for most consumer products. AA is the minimum legal standard. Good design is actually a lot harder to notice than poor design, in part because good designs fit our needs so well that the design is invisible. When Notion's type and color system is working, users do not notice it. They just read, navigate, and create without friction. The absence of noticeability is the sign of a mature typographic and color system, one that communicates without calling attention to itself. The most common place where type and color systems interact, and where they most often fail together, is dark mode. In light mode, body text is a dark gray on white. In dark mode, a naive inversion gives you white text on black, which creates a contrast so high it causes eye strain in low light conditions. Experienced dark mode implementations reduce the text luminance slightly, use a very dark gray, not pure black, as the background, and maintain the full semantic color system. Type color and background color must be considered together, not separately. A mid-tone teal background that looks fine with white text may fail with a secondary gray label. Check every text background pairing in your design system with a contrast tool, not just the primary body combination. Dark mode is no longer optional for consumer products. iOS and Android users expect it. Electron app users expect it. Web users expect it. Do not use pure black as the dark mode background. Use a very dark gray. Number 121212 is Material Design's recommendation. Pure black creates artifacting around light elements and feels harsh. A dark gray creates depth while maintaining readability. Do not use pure white for body text in dark mode. Use a slightly off-white #E0E0E0 or similar to reduce perceived harshness. Reserve pure white for the highest priority text only. Brand primary colors in dark mode often need adjustment. A blue that works at 4.5:1 on a white background may fail on a dark gray background. Define separate dark mode token values for your interactive color. In dark mode, surface elevation is communicated by lightening, rather than shadowing. A card on a dark background is slightly lighter than the background. An elevated modal is lighter still. The lightest surfaces should reach roughly #3A3A3A. Beyond that, the layering loses visual distinction. Every text background combination in the design has been run through a WCAG contrast checker. All body text passes 4.5:1. All large text passes 3:1. The type scale is defined as name tokens, not raw pixel values. Every text role, body, caption, heading, display maps to exactly one token. No raw hex codes appear in component files or CSS. All color references use semantic tokens. Error states use the error token. Success states use the success token. If the product supports dark mode, every screen has been reviewed in dark mode and every contrast ratio has been verified in both modes. Custom web fonts have a system font fallback defined. The fallback has similar metrics, x height, weight, to reduce layout shift when the custom font loads. A type scale removes guesswork from every future text decision. Define it once as semantic tokens, document it, and apply it consistently. The alternative, making individual size decisions on every screen, is a source of permanent visual inconsistency. Color communicates function, not just brand. Semantic color tokens map meaning to visual signal, so that users build accurate mental models of what colors mean in the interface. When color means something consistent, it becomes a communication layer, not just a visual layer. WAG-AA contrast requirements are a legal standard in most jurisdictions, not a best practice recommendation. Failing contrast is failing accessibility, and in some contexts that constitutes legal liability. Contrast checking is not optional. 3 questions for this session. Your product has been built without a type scale. There are 14 different font sizes in use across the codebase, none of them named or documented. What is the minimum viable intervention to bring this under control, and how do you sequence it to avoid breaking existing designs? You have checked contrast on your primary text and it passes at 4.5:1, but no one has checked the secondary labels, the placeholder text, or the disabled states. What does your QA process look like for systematically auditing every color combination in a large design system? And your brand primary color is a bright coral red. In dark mode, it fails the contrast check. Do you create a separate dark mode primary color? Or do you adjust the brand color itself, and how do you make that argument to the brand team? In Lecture 7, we move to interaction design and microinteractions, the behavioral layer of the interface that sits on top of everything we have built so far. See you there.